Hello and welcome back to the Movie Miners podcast. This is episode 2. I'm Hamish.
And I'm Charlie.
I'm Zama.
And we've got mics. Yeah, bit of an improvement from last time. Today we are talking about No Country for Old Men by Joel and Ethan Coen, also known as the Coen brothers. So the plot revolves around this main guy called Llewellyn Moss, played by the fantastic Josh Brolin. What he does...
Thanos, by the way.
Who also played Thanos. What he does is he sort of comes across a cartel drug deal gone wrong, finds a big briefcase full of money, and takes it, but it is then hunted down by an assassin, and that's the movie. So, initial thoughts, boys?
Initial thoughts for me. I very much actually enjoyed the movie. I think it's one of those movies that you always hear is a classic, and it's a movie that I've never watched. So I really enjoyed the watch. I think a few points. The length I didn't think was too long at all. It was a 2-hour movie, which at the beginning I was like, wow, this is going to be like a sit-through, but I really enjoyed the movie overall. It was really timeless. The plot was really good. I have points to bring up later, but
Yeah. Overall, I really enjoyed the movie. It was much more my kind of movie than last week. Very tense, quite on the edge of your seat, some good action, and not much bad to say about it, but I guess we'll discuss that later.
Yeah, I agree. I really did like it. I thought it was really well put together, really well made on all aspects. There were a couple improvements here and there, I think, but on the whole, like, definitely 10 out of 10 recommending. Well, that's not the final score. We'll get to those later.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean.
one quick note before we continue. We want to thank everyone who watched our last episode. We got, I think, about 65 to 70 views, which was currently.
At the time of recording.
We just upload every Monday at 3:30 p.m. Hong Kong time, for those who are unaware. But we really loved everyone's support, especially those who watched the live premiere of the showing. We had a few comments and engagements, and we saw there was a few people who recommended movies. So thank you for that, and we'll continue to keep them in mind as we pick. As well, for those who are unfamiliar to our podcast, we do a rotation of film suggestions. So last week's episode was suggested by Charlie. This week is by Hamish, and next week it'll be mine.
But I guess we can, as we go on, we'll incorporate some suggestions. So remember to leave your comments below.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. On to the first topic. This time we're structured, so listen to some advice. So that was the initial thoughts. We'll be going over the writing, directing, acting, the final thoughts, which is everything else. Then we'll be doing the rating. So the writing, what did we think?
I think it was a very well written story. Obviously, the movie was written by the Coen brothers, but the original writer of the story was by Cormac McCarthy. I thought that the storyline and within the writing was very fluid. I think at the base it's a simplistic yet very engaging story. Obviously, the plot throughout isn't have a lot of unexpected turns or anything. It's a very linear story, but I think for the way this was written, it made a lot of sense.
Yeah. I'd say in terms of story, the plot wasn't particularly. It wasn't very. I don't know. It just wasn't that deep. I don't think. Well, I think the story element, other parts of it, I guess, were, but it was. I don't know. I think it was just so. It's kind of like classic, kind of bad guy versus good guy, for the most part, and it was just done really well, high quality, and it was done in a way I hadn't really seen it before. I mean, you see a lot of like supervillain versus. I don't know.
It was. I don't know.
Do you know what I mean?
That's what you mean, but it was very like real to like a human character. Like it wasn't like a fantasized character, like some supervillain, but it was very real people.
Yeah, it almost seemed like it could actually happen.
Normal. Yeah,
and I think especially just the fact that nothing out of reality really happened. Like there was no point where you feel like this is a movie. You know, it feels like you're watching a YouTube video about something like an unsolved mystery that happened. You know, like it's something that could have happened instead of You know what I mean? It feels more like a documentary than a movie, sort of.
I
could
guess so.
see. You mean within the story?
Within the story.
Yeah, not the way it was shot. Yeah, I could see that.
There were some plots though, like the big fights in town and
Yeah,
stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, then again, it was say in the 70s or 80s,
Yeah,
so
I believe
maybe,
so.
maybe. I don't know.
Also, spoiler warning, forgot to say.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, go watch it if you haven't already.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
What next?
Um,
What's next on the agenda?
next on the agenda is plot/directing.
Okay.
For me,
Yeah.
I thought the directing was a very high level. I'm quite inexperienced with watching the Coen brothers films. I do know that they've done a lot nowadays for film.
What are some of their other movies?
They have Fargo, True Grit.
Didn't they write they directed the Ballad of
Ballad of Buster Scruggs.
Buster Scruggs.
And they also did the most recent Macbeth movie.
Yeah, the tragedy
Oh,
of
yeah,
Macbeth as well.
Denzel Washington.
Denzel Washington.
Washington.
Yeah. I mean, from a director aspect, I think they did a phenomenal job. Just the way, obviously, it comes. There's a line between how much is directed, how much of the director's effect is put on the screen through the acting versus just the actual acting from the characters as well. Yeah, I don't know. Have you seen films before from the Coen brothers?
I saw Fargo. I think it was really
Okay.
good, but there's definitely a difference.
Hmm.
Because Fargo, it's based on a true story, but it feels kind of comedic, half comedic. There are some jokes throughout.
Okay.
There's not a single joke.
Yeah.
There's no point where you get relief. You're almost always tense.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that because there's no real point where you feel like you can have a break.
Yeah, I definitely think that was my favorite part of the movie. It was really you're on the edge of your seat. And you don't. I never knew what was going to happen, and even at the end, I still don't know what happened.
Yeah.
Really. I don't know, do we go on to that or?
We were going through a couple technical difficulties. We'll have described it in a little blackout screen. But yeah, we're going back into the plot directing aspect of the movie. Do you guys have any points on the actual plot itself, or anything you wish could have been done better?
I don't know. When I first saw it, immediately after I saw it, I guess I'll go into the part where, it's going towards the end, and Llewellyn the cop turns up and Llewellyn's dead.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wish. It's not necessarily that part that kind of irks me, but I think it would have been cooler if it kind of when the cop is, I forget his name.
The sheriff.
Yeah, the sheriff.
Yeah.
Ed Tom.
Ed Tom. Yeah.
Yeah, he's kind of in the room and you don't know if the bad guy's there.
Oh yeah.
I think they could have developed that more because I just thought the ending was a bit. It wasn't bad, but it didn't live up to the rest of the movie for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just either that or it's just so unusual because it's so instant and it just cuts to Llewellyn dead.
I know that scene that you're talking about. Obviously, there's that scene where he's talking to that woman at the pool, and then instantly the next scene he's seen dead.
Yeah.
Which I get what you're saying. I think it leaves a lot out, but I think that style is a little familiar with death. I remember, in the last movie we saw, Another Round too.
Yeah.
There was that, which I think might have been more impactful in that movie, where they have one of the teachers on the boat who dies, but you don't actually see that
That's
death.
better. That's better.
Yeah, I do get what you mean,
But
especially with it was such an for that whole
anticlimactic.
very
That's
anticlimactic.
the word.
But I don't know if I would shoot it differently personally because I just thought it made it feel very real.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
It wasn't overplayed.
Yeah.
But it was still unexpected.
I mean, I think it was done because it's kind of it's kind of like repeating. So you know how at the start of the film he sees all those people dead, don't know what happened. It's like that again. And actually to talk to that point, I thought I saw a lot of deja vu in the film.
Oh yeah.
So like now at the start he's following the blood trails.
Right.
I don't know, that appears again. He's following
Yeah.
what's his name? The evil guy?
Anton.
Anton, yeah.
Mhm.
The coin flip that happens a few times.
Yeah.
Um,
He is like
No,
his acting and also
Yeah.
just his face. Like
Yeah.
it was like he had a really good character, and it was like
Absolutely.
really like there was some real undertones of scariness
Yeah.
to me.
oh yeah.
Like that were so just very cold.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
yeah.
Yeah. On the plot, the main bit that I thought the sheriff, right, Ed Tom. I feel like a lot of that could have been cut because I was left.
Well,
with
like the ending bit.
the ending
Yeah,
at the
yeah,
start where he's talking about the start where he's talking about you have to understand what you're about to see, but the ending where he's just with his I think uncle or dad.
Yeah. That was,
Oh no! He's with his wife, isn't he? And he's talking about his dad.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. It kind of felt. I felt like it should have ended where Shigo got the car crashed into him without you know what I mean?
Really? I think the opposite. That one part to me was like I was so fixed on like what he was telling me.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought it was really visually I don't know. I thought it was really great imagery.
Yeah.
It really
Yeah.
transfixed me.
Yeah.
I
I think it was
Yeah,
a good
I don't
scene.
know.
It's just I think it gave too much to focus on throughout the movie because you're focusing on Moss and then his wife or girlfriend and then Anton and then
Yeah.
the
Bill
sheriff.
all over the place.
There's a lot to focus on, and I don't know. It kind of felt overwhelming at times.
Yeah, I could see that. I think this movie especially there wasn't a real protagonist.
Yeah.
No.
I mean,
Don't
obviously,
think- I think it was Llewellyn.
Llewellyn.
Yeah, Llewellyn was the protagonist, but I mean, let me rephrase it. Not necessarily the protagonist, but
Do you think there was a winner
like
or a
a win.
loser? A winner or a loser? Is that kind of what you're trying to say?
no. Let me draw back. My point that I was trying to make is that the movie didn't fully focus on one character over
Yeah,
all of them.
yeah.
There was there was a real spread of attention, obviously on Llewellyn Moss, the killer Anton, and then also the sheriff Ed Tom Bell.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, the change in perspective throughout the movie though were really powerful in that as well.
Onto the acting section. Thoughts? Anyone just initially?
Javier, what's his name? Bardem, who played Anton Chigurh, won an Oscar. So,
Of course, yeah.
well
Deserved.
yeah,
I think as
yeah,
well.
well deserved. So
I
he's-
thought-
yeah.
I thought the acting for me was probably the second best part of the movie. Not to move away from this topic, but I definitely want to talk about the cinematography
Oh yeah.
after. Because for me, that was what really carried the movie throughout.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. I don't know. I think the acting for me stood out.
Yeah, definitely for me as well.
Yeah.
Especially because if you do a bit more research into the book, Anton Chigurh does not have that much said about him. He's pretty much just a faceless killer who goes around. But then Javier takes that and then develops him into this ruthless man. And especially the fact that he's able to be ruthless and scary with the haircut he's wearing is a ridiculous talent on Javier Bardem's behalf.
The fried curtains.
Oh my god.
That's kind of part of it. It's it's so unexpected. That's what makes him scary.
And
Yeah.
it's also so unhuman
Yeah.
because no one would have that haircut.
Yeah.
But like that little what's it called? The cow killer thing.
Oh yeah, the
that's-
hair gun.
Ooh,
And I think
that's a nice touch.
and I think that's the acting blended with the cinematography is what added
Oh,
on
yeah.
to that too. Like all those scenes where you'd have Antoine dragging that metal tin across the road. It was really impactful.
Yeah.
And I think it also had moments where you could preempt
Yeah,
what was going to happen as
It
well.
was foreshadowing it.
Mm,
So, and I don't know, the cow killing the air gun was definitely iconic, but I kind of just love the suppressed shotgun. Not to sound weird, but just the sound it made was really satisfying.
Yeah, it was cool. I guess did that move us on to the cinematography then? So
Yeah.
cinematography.
Do you guys have any other notes before?
Not
If you wanna-
Not
particularly.
particularly.
Well, I almost completely forgot. Woody Harrelson's in this film.
The guy that
Yeah, Carson.
Yeah, he's Carson
He's
Wells.
supposed to be a hitman like Anton Chigurh,
Yeah.
and he's in it, and then he's like hyped up, and you forget he's hyped up. It's supposed to be able to kill Chigurh, and then
Yeah.
Chigurh just finds him and kills him.
Yeah.
And
And he had I think he had a kind of a mystic character, especially when Llewellyn Moss was in the hospital.
Yeah.
Completely switched up when he was
Yeah.
in that hotel room and just got killed instantly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was kind of expecting like a massive fight between Carson and Chigurh,
Yeah,
and
I
he
thought-
just shows up like on the stairs behind it.
Yeah.
Or I thought, I don't know, but that was unexpected.
And I think it was an ironic scene too, because it was very slow. Like, it wasn't like he didn't expect him to get killed because he was falling up the stairs, and then it cuts to them in the room, very calm, and it almost seemed like Carson Wells had the upper hand. Like, he was he was kind of mocking Antoine, knowing that he was either going to kill him or not kill him, but he was not scared of it. And then Antoine kind of took back the power when that phone came on, and he was just ruthlessly killed him. Like, nothing happened, and just moved on, forgot about his character.
Yeah. I think that the only reason on that Anton was with Carson was just to get in touch with Llewellyn. Like, I don't think he was with Carson and talked to Carson at all, because as soon as the phone rang, I think he just knew, like, this is who I'm trying to kill, so don't need him anymore.
Right.
Which sort of just adds to the inhumanity of Anton Chigurh.
Yeah.
Cinematography.
The cinematographer for the movie was Cormac McCarthy, who I don't know if you guys are familiar with, but you probably are. I love him as a cinematographer. Some of his other movies that he's really popular for was 1917,
Oh, yeah.
and also The Shawshank Redemption.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. But I thought, cinematography highlights for me were, apart from literally the whole movie being very cinematic, I thought the cinematography in the first 4 minutes of the film with the deserts were really, really powerful.
There was no speaking, it was the shots.
It was the shots that really spoke. I think the scene where you had Llewellyn Moss up on that mountain with the sniper, and then it cuts him walking through with no music, no lines, just him walking around, and then finding all. For me, it was really impactful, and I can't fully break down why that was, because the shots were not at all complex. And I think that's another thing about the movie. There was not a lot of, I'm not sure if any, rolling shots throughout the film. Everything was very still, and all subjects were only moving when they were panning, or they were walking across the camera, which is, I think, for me, really powerful, and paired well with how linear the storyline was.
Okay. I think another standout scene for cinematography was, the one when he's at Llewellyn's in the hotel room, and you see the door, and you see the slither of light underneath.
Yeah.
And it is Anton, right?
Yeah.
Because he comes through the door.
Yeah.
And you basically just see his feet, and that whole scene, kind of similar to that first scene. There's no talking, and I don't know. It's such a almost evil scene, or I don't know.
Yeah, there's no score in those moments. There's no lines, and there's not a lot of movement.
It's just a feeling.
It's very I think the sound production really added to that, creaking of floors, walking through deserts,
and the light, because it's just
the lighting
dark.
is phenomenal. Yeah, especially right before then when the light gets turned off and everything is almost completely dark except you see his face from that crack of the door.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
Oh, yeah.
And he's holding the gun there, just waiting at the door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of which, this movie has no score whatsoever. There's no music in the whole movie. Yeah. It's almost difficult to notice. I got halfway through the movie and I'm like, this movie doesn't have any music to it. And I think it really helps with the sort of atmosphere. Especially one of my favorite scenes, probably my favorite scene, is the gas station. where he's just paying for his gas, Anton Chigurh, with the cashier.
No.
Like,
I thought he was
That poor
going to
guy.
yeah, that poor guy. He had no idea.
flip the coin. Like,
Just asking him about where he came from, and Anton's like, "I'm gonna kill him now."
yeah.
And it's really weird how just really good acting and shot reverse shot can turn into such a powerful scene.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need any like building score, you don't need any like really intricate shots. You just shot reverse shot acting. Alright, any final points before we get onto the ratings?
I think overall the movie was good, but for me, I think it needed a bit more of a crescendo.
Okay.
It was kind of, I mean, I kind of mentioned it before, but it was anticlimactic.
Yeah.
And not in a bad way, but I think it would have, in my view, elevated it. And it doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean that it's necessarily a bad thing that it doesn't have that climax. But it's just the anticipation and everything that happened before, the chasing, because in reality it's kind of like prey predator kind of. It's always on the hunt. Llewellyn's always on the back foot, and then towards the end it kind of feels like it's going to switch, and then I don't know, like nothing materializes. That's my biggest. I don't know, what would you call it? Drawback of the movie. It feels like there's so much build up, and it's such a great build up that it makes up for the fact that there's no climax.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Do you know what I mean?
I do get what you mean. I didn't feel too like it ruined.
It didn't.
Well, not to say that you were saying that it ruined it, but to me, I don't know if I would change it. Only because I feel like it was it was very anticlimactic up until that killing, but I think it was also very powerful when all you see is out of nowhere he just cuts and he's dead. And I think, to me, it kind of added a lot to the movie because it just created a lot of realism into the fact that
anyone can die.
Anyone can die at any moment, and even the main character when we don't expect it, or the person who's getting hunted down can just die.
But then there's no even closure to it. Do you know what I mean? Like, and like that last scene, or not last scene, like second last scene where Anton gets T-boned by the
kids. That was
so
really
random. Yeah, I don't know. It just doesn't feel like it goes anywhere. It feels like it's a story that's open-ended. I mean, I guess that's
maybe,
the point.
but maybe it's supposed to be.
It's supposed to be.
Maybe.
I don't hate it for that, but it's not my favorite way of ending. But yeah, what do you think?
Definitely. I feel like we sort of dragged onto the last movie for not having a real point to it, but that's because the last movie felt like it should have had a message but didn't. Whereas this movie literally just feels like it's telling us events. Like there's a protagonist, there's an antagonist, there's a MacGuffin, there's a point to the story. Yeah. And then it all sort of gets resolved just in the most unsatisfying way possible. Like it feels weird to say it, but like Anton Chigurh gets hit by a car, you think he's dead, he's not, he just goes off. The main character protagonist, he dies, and the sheriff, he retires, but he's not happy. Like nothing good happens at the end. And Llewellyn Moss's wife gets killed, I assume. Her death off screen, but like nothing satisfying happens at the end.
There's no closure to it. Yeah. Well, I guess that's the point.
I do wonder if it's meant to be like that.
Yeah.
And especially, obviously, this film was released in 2007, so that kind of style of a plot and an ending wasn't as common. I think something like this could be more common nowadays with having an unexpected death or ending.
Yeah. But to be honest, I've never really seen anything like it.
No,
and I think that's what adds to it. Even if it's unsatisfying, the fact that I've not seen anything like it adds to it because it's something so new and so different. But,
Sure. Should we get onto the ratings?
Yeah.
Favorite part? Zama, you want to start us off?
Just out the bat, the rating.
Yeah, straight up.
Okay. Well, I gave it a 4.5 stars out of 5, but on our 10-point scale, I would give it a 9.3.
Okay. I know after I just flamed it for having no climax or whatever, this is gonna sound weird, but I give it a 9, and that is simply just because the whole plot is like the 3/4 of it is just so incredible.
Yeah.
It's so hard to fault. It's so hard to fault the majority of the movie in any way.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just so incredible. If you like any kind of drama, tense movie, this is you'll enjoy it, but not perfect for me.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Like, we have just spent the last 5-7 minutes just talking about how it's not satisfying. I gave it a 9.1 out of 10, and it's just because the rest of the movie just more than makes up for it. It's pretty much just a perfect thriller, in my opinion, and it's really a great movie to watch.
And just different.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's easy to also give movies like this such a high rating in general, just because it's one of those movies that everyone needs to watch or maybe hasn't watched.
Yeah.
But so my expectations were quite high, but after watching the movie, I felt like it met or even maybe went above my expectations, because when you hear No Country for Old Men, it's one of those movies that everyone has to watch, or it's one of the most critically acclaimed, and I think it for sure was not a letdown at all, and I think it's a movie that everyone should watch.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It was, I think,
maybe
really
not.
groundbreaking.
If you're not a massive fan of a bit gruesome stuff, maybe not. There's some, there's some gore.
And grow up a bit first. Yeah, we don't want 12-year-olds watching this.
But yeah, I don't know if it surpassed my expectation, but it I don't know, it's different. I don't know what to say. It's different to what I expected.
Yeah, I'd be interested to watch other films by the Coen brothers, because I'm quite unfamiliar with them, and see how kind of this compares.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, this was one of their earlier movies that they made, and it really rose them to where they are now.
Mm.
So I'd be interested to see, how either their styles changed, kept the same throughout other films
what
that they've made.
the similarities.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Alright. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked it, hit the like button. Please subscribe. You can check out the Letterboxd accounts in the description. That's me, Charlie Zama. Would you like to introduce the film for next week?
Yes. Next week we will be reviewing La Haine, also known as The Hate. It's a French movie that I've suggested. So we hope those of you who have watched it are excited to hear our review. And those who haven't watched it and you're interested, maybe you can go watch it within the next week, as we'll be dropping our next episode next Monday at 3:30.
And remember, subscribe, turn notifications on, and leave your comments leave your suggestions in the comments below.
Yeah, we really did appreciate those who engaged in the comments and the likes. We got definitely a lot more views than we expected. So we set the goal for this one to let's really try and get 100 views. so try and share the video around, and
we really do appreciate your feedback.
Yeah, we really do.
We've tried to up the audio quality, so any feedback is welcome.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we really did try on the setup. It took us about an hour. We hope you do like the improvements, because we put in a lot of work.
But as the more we do, the better it'll get. So next week is going to get even better.
Yeah. So thank you guys for all your support. We really do appreciate it, and we hope you come here next week.
Thanks, guys. See you next week.
Thank you.
Have a good one.